And I said, we're walking home. And he said, is your home close? I said, yeah, it's just down the street. He said, okay, we need to talk to your dad.
That is Rafi Meitiv, and that's when it all started. Back last year, and what has happened here is that a mom and a dad who have decided that they want to be free-range parents, that they want to give their kids a lot of flexibility about where they go and how they're and teach them how to be on their own at a very young age. It's a parenting choice that they made. They decided they're going to let their kids, one 10 and I believe the other 6, to take a walk down to a park. It's about a mile from their house. Right down, I guess it's Georgia Avenue. And the police stopped young Rafi and said, we got to talk to your parents. And then, as you might imagine, Child Protective Services got involved. And we've just learned that Child Protective Services has come in with a ruling of unsubstantiated neglect in this particular case. The parents are not happy about this. This means that their Child Protective Services file remains open for 5 years. Is this the right action of government? On the line right now is Danielle Meitiv, who is the Meitiv. I'm sorry. It's good to have you here with us, Danielle. So, what is your reaction to this ruling by the Child Protective Services?
Well, at first we were shocked. As far as we're concerned, there's really no case here, so I'd hoped they would just dismiss it. But we're also really angry, and we resent this judgment on our parenting.
This thing that they've charged you with, or not really charged, you've been, I'm quoting the Washington Post article, you've been found responsible for unsubstantiated child neglect. What does that even mean, unsubstantiated child neglect? Have you had your day in court? Have you been able to put up a defense? Was there a trial?
No, it's not really clear. I mean, unsubstantiated in normal English means without proof.
Exactly. So it's a non-story, I would think.
That's exactly what we thought. There was basically, they did an investigation. They talked to our kids without our permission. They talked to us, and they decided that we did something wrong. Basically, it feels like they're saying you did something wrong, but we can't really prove it.
All right, so now look, we've talked about this a couple of times on our program. We open up the phone lines and we let people weigh in and tell us what they think. And there are some people who say, I could never imagine letting my 10-year-old and my 6-year-old take a walk up a mile up basically Georgia Avenue to go to a park unsupervised. Now, they say that they feel like that the state was right to enter in this particular case. What would you say to those people?
Well, I'd ask them why weren't their parents arrested or charged with neglect, and all of our parents would have been charged with neglect if this were ruled one generation ago. And Georgia Avenue hasn't gotten any more dangerous. In fact, it's gotten safer. So I'd like to know why CPS thinks that this is neglect.
Do you have any fears about child abduction? We hear that raised often when we bring this story up.
Honestly, no. The only strangers who have threatened to take my children away are the folks in CPS.
Well, there is that.
And, a lot of people hear this story and they think, my gosh, they talk to my kids without my presence. I mean, without any real proof or real charges, I would never let them do that. What did they say to you? Did they threaten you if you didn't let them talk to your kids?
They actually never talked to us about it. They went straight to the school, pulled my kids out of class, and I only found out about it afterwards.
Oh, hold on.
We were livid.
They went to school without your permission, yanked the kids out of class, and interviewed them without your permission?
Yep. They didn't even tell me. I found out afterwards. I had to ask the principal to find out that they did it.
Now, does Child Protective Services in Montgomery County have the right to do that? I'm sure you've consulted an attorney on this.
They do. And in really serious abuse cases, I can see why they need that power. They need to talk to the children, not the parents. There was no evidence, however, in this case, that they ever needed to talk to our children, much less go behind our backs to do it.
So the way I read this is when this finding of unsubstantiated neglect, they basically can keep your file open for 5 years and sort of monitor the welfare of your children. Is that your understanding as well?
Well, I don't think they're going to actively interfere in any way. They're not going to visit our house unannounced. But if our kids are at the park like they were yesterday afternoon when the schools were closed and somebody calls in, I'm afraid that file is suddenly going to bump it up to the next level of intrusion or get us in even more trouble.
Yeah.
Are you considering trying to change this law or try to, become an activist on this, or are you thinking of moving to another jurisdiction?
No, we're sticking around. We, in spite of all this, we think this is a fantastic place to live, and we live in a really wonderful and safe community. But we are going to challenge it. We're going to appeal this. First, we have 60 days to register an appeal, and then if that doesn't work, see what our other options are. But we definitely are going to challenge it both for us and for other families who find themselves in this position.
I'm curious on this, Danielle Meitiv, if I may ask you. You live in Silver Spring. I think that I read somewhere that you or your husband are involved in environmental causes. Is that right?
Well, we're both scientists, and that's our background. Yeah. So my husband is a physicist at NIH, and I do climate science consulting. That's right, climate science.
And I'm just curious because... See, I find this to be a very interesting story in that it doesn't. People who support you or are critical of you tend to not fall into your typical Republican, Democrat, red state, blue state kind of categories. Would you say that in general you lean a little bit more to the left in your politics?
Well, I feel like this actually isn't a political issue at all. It's a parenting issue. And I have had support. When the story first hit back in January, I was on Fox News in the morning and MSNBC in the evening because I think all across the spectrum people can respect the right of parents to parent the way they see fit.
Amen to that. And I'm not trying to drag you into a political conversation. I'm just interested. You said you were on Fox News and MSNBC. Did both news outlets treat you kind of in the same way, or did you sense that they were taking it from a different approach?
I found people to be really respectful and extremely supportive. And, in fact, I'm talking to you from the Fox News station right now where I'm about to go.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. All right, great.
Yeah. People have been really supportive across the political spectrum.
One other question. We learned about this. We talked about it the day that the story broke. We learned about it in the Washington Post. I would think that issues that involve the police and children don't get publicized. Were you the one who called the Post to tell them about this?
Oh, I did. That's actually the only folks I reached out to were local people. After I spoke to my friends on Facebook and everybody was so supportive, a number of people said you have to go to the media and speak out because you're not the only parents that are suffering this, and people need to know.
We received an email here a short while ago. It's a very thoughtful email from a mother who said that she has gone through a similar thing, and she talked about how she could not believe the way she was spoken to by the authorities. And again, she found herself in this same sort of category, unsubstantiated neglect, which is sort of a very vague and gray finding, it seems to me. But she said she was treated with absolute disrespect by the authorities that interacted with her. What has been your experience as far as it has been?
There's been, there were some tense moments when the police first brought the kids home, but overall the police have all been very polite. To us. I haven't found the individuals at CPS to be disrespectful. In fact, people I've spoken to have been polite. That was not my husband's experience. The day that they brought the kids home, he was threatened by somebody at CPS.
Really?
So, yeah, she said, either you sign a safety plan or we're going to take your children away right now. So they have a lot of power, and that's what's really frightening, is that one person might be polite, one person might be rude, but regardless, the power they have, they have no accountability. The police can't just drag you away in handcuffs without a reason, but CPS could have taken our children because my husband refused to sign a piece of paper.
Well, listen, Danielle, we're going to continue to follow this. I want you to promise us that if there are new developments, that you will reach out and keep us advised of what's going on.
Absolutely.
Please do. Yes, we are your local radio station to cover this story for you, Danielle
Thanks,
Meitiv
Danielle.
of Silver Spring.